We're going through the scope and sequence right now, and we're basically backwards planning from this Module 1 assessment. And what we've got down so far is the assessment, which is taking place on the 14th, the district review, which is going to happen on 13th, the Monday. And the Friday before that, we are going to hand out some review worksheets, right, to give as homework over the weekend. To speed up the review process, because right now we've got 1 day of review and that's just not going to be enough for our kids, for sure. Also for the month of November, we also have a Gear Up trip to College Park on November 3rd, so that's the first Friday in November. And I'm going to be on Jared duty, but Borkowski will be in class. No, she won't. Actually, she's going to be supervising. Have fun with that. And on the 6th, we also have parent-teacher conferences. So right there, that's going to be 4 straight days of no instruction. So that's going to be one hurdle. And in October,
we have 2 PD days on the 19th and the 20th. So we won't be able to use those days to catch up or teach. Along those lines, I think, so we basically have how many instructional days prior to our interim Module 1 assessment?
So in November we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 full days in November. And in October,
$20?
Okay, so that's 26 so far, and then for the rest of September we have these last 5 days.
Okay.
So 31
so
more
we have
days.
31 more days to prepare students for the Module 1 assessment.
Go ahead.
So looking now at the Baltimore City scope and sequence, so blue standards are supporting, green standards are major. Towards the end of Module 1, there's a significant amount of blue supporting standards, some of which I think we can cut out based on our students' understanding of construction. So some of the more advanced constructions I think can be hemmed out, like the 9-point circle, especially because if we look at our Module 1 assessment, that's not something that's going to necessarily prepare them for that assessment.
Right.
I think those 2 lessons, while they extend students' learning, I think it's more important that we're focusing on the major standards.
Right.
Given our students' current ability and where they need remediation and spiraling.
So all the blue standards look like they're falling under topic 1G. So I think so over here they're allocating 2 days for that. If we can just, so they've allocated it for November 9th and 10th. If we can actually combine that into 1 day, what do you think? Or even half a lesson? Because this just seems like a lot of higher level stuff that I'm not. It doesn't really look
I would agree. I think that could be combined into 1 day.
Okay.
I also think that the 2 previous days, lesson 43 and lesson 44, could be eliminated or at least constructing a 9-point circle could be eliminated.
Okay. So
I think constructing a square would still be a helpful skill to review with students.
Okay.
If we're looking at the assessment, but the 9-point circle is really an extension that's not going to contribute too much to students' ability to be successful in the interim.
Okay.
Especially given that they understand constructions fairly well at this point.
Okay. So let's have lessons 43 with the square and 9-point circle, 44 again with the 9-point circle, and the review take place that Friday before.
Yeah.
Right? And that puts us to lesson 42. So it's 42 special lines and triangles. So this is is this what we were talking about this morning with the in-center and circumcenter?
believe so. Let me access the module to take a look. So lesson
40.
This is going to be towards the end of the teacher edition.
Mm-hmm.
So let's.
The teacher edition, special lines and triangles starts page 249.
249.
Mm-hmm.
So looking specifically at the end of module assessment, so we can backwards plan, it looks like the construction that they are expected to complete is a construction of a square, and students will be expected to list the specific steps they used to construct that square. Additionally, it looks like rigid transformations are a huge focus on this assessment. We see them in both in question number 1, parts A and B, as well as questions, question number 5B. So that's after they've constructed the square. So I think it's going to be really crucial that we emphasize that aspect, because it looks like in each of these questions, even question 4 has something to do with rigid transformations after an application of the triangle congruence theorems.
Right.
And that's on page number.
So it also looks like we are not going to have to cover or spend a lot of time on transversals. Problem 3 on this assessment is really like the only problem that features this upcoming unit or topic or a couple of lessons on transversals.
Right.
So we should just give them a project, teach it one day formally in class, and let them use those class notes to
solidify their understanding.
Right.
I think the types of angle pairs, I think they're mostly things they might have, some of the types of angle pairs I should say, are things they should have seen before, like complementary, supplementary, linear pair. And those are things that are going to be like most valuable. So I think we can incorporate their prior knowledge there with working on those angle pairs.
Yeah. I think when we gave out the project last year, a lot of like my honors students had already seen it and they were like, hey, we did this in 8th grade. So I think like if we can update the project even more, making it more challenging or more relatable.
To use some project-based learning. Yeah. I think if we modified it to allow students to utilize their prior knowledge and maybe even their prior knowledge of their preferences. You know, they are like their own cultural experts.
Yeah.
So I think we could certainly edit that to help them solidify that prior knowledge they have of this content with their non-academic knowledge. I think that's a great idea. Lamb.
We can come back to it.
Agreed. So if we're also looking at this final assessment for this module, I think it's going to be pretty crucial to cover triangles as a whole, including triangle angle sum theorem, and like definitions of isosceles, as well as the similarity and congruence theorems therein. I also noticed that question 6 focuses on a parallelogram, so we're going to want to make sure that we give that the attention it requires and bring up that prior knowledge of various quadrilateral.
So right now we are back on November 10th, where we're probably going to do lesson 431 on constructing a square and just any additional review. So we're going to start planning from November 9th, Thursday,